Today we're going to be looking at the weapons of the Turok series, starting off with Dinosaur Hunter. I will be ranking them based on their overall performance and generally how fun they are to use. And just as a side note, this list will be for the Nightdive remasters, as they are the most accessible and well-balanced versions of the game. Now with all that said, let's get to it. Starting off with number 14, the alien weapon. Right at the bottom we have what is quite possibly one of the most disappointing weapons in the series. Not only is this thing ammo hungry, its damage is severely lacking when compared to other weapons that share energy with it. Which is a shame too, because the alien weapon has a really cool design in my opinion, with the swirling smoke trail of rings it leaves behind accompanied by the sound effects, not to mention green is my favorite color. But when the weapon's initial shot pushes your targets away from the explosion that follows, with only a minor returning damage, it can be difficult to get any use out of it. Add to the fact that your line of sight is being blocked by these massive fart clouds in the way, then the fire rate on this thing is not doing you any favors. In short, it's a cool weapon, but it is not worth the ammo consumption for how little damage it does. Next at number 13, we have the pistol. It's your first weapon pickup in the game, which quickly gets replaced later in the level if you don't mind a little swim. With a respectable fire rate and plentiful ammo early on, it can get the job done. Compared to your starter weapons though, its performance falls behind dramatically. Once the game starts to introduce tougher enemies, you will quickly start to see how weak the damage output can be. Next up at number 12, the shotgun. It pains me to put this weapon here, but if you know where to look, then the standard shotgun is immediately made redundant by its bigger brother, the automatic shotgun. The damage is still good and is capable of being equipped with explosive shells just the same, but when the fire rate is already outclassed by the time you pick it up, then there really is no point in ever touching this weapon, other than to admire the impressive pump animation. Now at number 11, the knife. Melee weapons in the Turok series tend to serve as nothing more than a glorified toothpick, with their short range and low damage that often puts you at severe risk when facing groups of enemies. But somehow we start off with this fine piece of craftsmanship, gift wrapped and delivered right into our hands to play around with.
That's a knife.
It gets a damage bonus from backstabs, a technique which makes it surprisingly easy to exploit the enemy AI if you're familiar with their movement. There is roughly a 5% chance for lesser enemies to drop a mortal wound on death, completely restoring your health to full and increasing your maximum by 5. And if you really want to challenge yourself, it is entirely possible to beat the game using only the knife, making it a standout against the rest of the arsenal. Now at number 10, the assault rifle. Upgrading the pistol with a 3-round burst, this weapon provides you with some decent stopping power in the early game, but lacks the sustained fire rate of the minigun or pulse rifle. Not a flashy or impressive gun by any means, but it is great for basic humanoids, raptors, and those pesky leapers that seem to infest every cave you visit. Despite being a lower tier weapon, the burst fire mechanic from the assault rifle went on to be a staple characteristic in every Turok game featured on the N64, with varying results. Next up at number 9, the particle accelerator, or shockwave weapon. This is the second energy weapon that you will find throughout the game and serves as the first explosive type for the category. It must be charged to really be effective, but the blast radius is absolutely massive, on par with the super weapons even. While not great against tougher enemies, it can make short work of large groups where the pulse rifle will not cut it. The color of the shot will change as it climbs each level in power, resulting in more ammo consumption for a greater blast. So if you can manage to lure enemies together, this can be a good tool for clearing out the trash. Just avoid using it for singular targets and don't even bother taking it out for bosses because they're immune. To quickly recap, be sure to charge it for the big shockwave it puts out, but save your energy on tougher foes. At number 8, the minigun. Now we're getting into the real meat and potatoes of the arsenal with this iconic weapon. The minigun may seem like it holds a lot of ammo at first, but actually consumes 4 bullets per shot, making it 125 in total. Performance-wise, it is very similar to the pulse rifle, but relies on hit scan rather than projectiles. As long as your aim is good, the low spread on this thing will usually result in a hit on your target. It can reliably shred through just about anything fairly quick, and a single ammo box will completely fill it to the max. You cannot really go wrong with the minigun, aside from having a short delay before it starts to spray lead all across the battlefield, but this is so minor that you barely notice it. Now at number 7, we have the Pulse Rifle. Pulling just slightly ahead of the minigun in terms of damage per shot and ammo efficiency, we have what I consider the best energy weapon in the game. After prying this thing from the Long Hunter's cold, dead hands, you too can light up your enemies with its bursts of pale blue plasma. While it does not compete with the game's heavier hitting weapons, it stands firmly in the middle of the pack as an effective means of clearing you a path. Now at number 6, my personal favorite, the automatic shotgun. A true workhorse, this weapon has it all. Reliable damage, fast fire rate, good range with low spread, and gets even better with the explosive shells. Best of all, you get it right in the first level, and it stays relevant throughout the whole game. Once it starts introducing armored robots, however, the traditional green shotgun shells fail to do much damage. Fortunately for us, Final Confrontation is loaded with reds around every corner to make up for it. There's not much else to say about this weapon, other than it's a solid choice for just about any encounter. And now we're getting into the top 5, starting with the Quad Rocket Launcher. This weapon is the very definition of overcompensating. Although the rockets have a rather unpredictable spiral pattern and travel speed, they more than make up for it with their devastating firepower. Few things can withstand a single volley from this weapon, and despite its limited ammo capacity, you will not need very many shots to clear a room with it. It may take some getting used to how the launcher functions, but with a little practice you can learn to forgive its quirks. Just be careful not to blow yourself up at close range or you'll be feeling it 4 times the pain. At number 4, the Grenade Launcher. What this weapon lacks in damage in comparison to the Quad Rocket Launcher quickly becomes a non-issue when you consider everything else it has going for it. In the hands of a skilled player, you can pull off some amazing shots by bouncing grenades around corners or send them flying over walls. It boasts a large ammo capacity and decent fire rate too, making it suitable for many encounters once you acquire it mid-game. Out of all the grenade launcher iterations throughout the Turok series, this one is easily the best. It has an extremely generous collision box and huge explosions, so you won't have to worry about bouncing shots between an enemy's legs or leaving behind any survivors. Next at number 3, the Tech Bow. May come as a surprise that a starter weapon is so high on the list, but if you understand the charged arrow mechanic, then you will probably agree that it deserves this spot. Tech arrows, while decent and plentiful, they pale in comparison to the standard arrow. By holding down the fire button for 2 seconds, the arrow will sparkle with light, causing it to instantly kill nearly any enemy in the game when released. Although the original game introduced this mechanic, Nightdive gave it a huge overhaul in the remaster. Now the only things safe from the shining arrow are the armored robots and, naturally, bosses. When you want to feel like a skilled warrior trained from early childhood to hunt big game, accept no substitute. At number 2, the Fusion Cannon. Although it has a slow wind-up, slow travel time, and limited ammo supply, there is something undeniably satisfying about carrying around a literal nuclear device in your hands. Acquired late into the game, this thing still boasts some impressive firepower, with its ability to clear out entire rooms full of enemies, or melt the Mantis boss if you take advantage of load warping and save her for later. While it should be noted that the fusion cannon will not harm the campaigner through his shield, nothing else will survive for long after being caught in this thing's blast. Finally, at number 1, yes, we have the Chronoscepter. Not only does this weapon have a huge significance in the lore, it is also your reward at the end of the game for collecting all the parts. It will drop the campaigner to roughly 1/3 of his total health in the original, while outright trivializing the entire encounter in the remaster, if you connect with 3 fully charged shots. Given that it grants its wielder the ability to create micro tears in the fabric of space-time, it is no wonder that its power is reflected in game. It is supposed to be good. Now imagine yourself sprinting to the campaigner's fortress, fighting off his minions, evading the traps he has laid before you, before putting down his pet T-Rex, and you are given the most powerful weapon in the entire universe. You walk into the campaigner's arena, where you are met with a sinister laugh that mocks you for having dared to challenge his might. Then with a shit-eating grin on your face, you wipe his existence from the timeline and save the world. And there we have it, all 14 weapons in Turok Dinosaur Hunter, arranged from worst to best. Do you agree or disagree with the ranking? Discuss it down below in the comments. Join me next time where I'll be ranking the weapons of Turok 2 Seeds of Evil. If you've made it this far into the video, then I thank you for sticking around. I don't need to tell you how YouTube works, but please consider subscribing if you're new around here, leaving a like, or sharing with a friend. Making a video like this does take a lot of work to produce, so that kind of stuff really goes a long way to helping me out. I also stream nearly every day on both YouTube and Twitch, where I do speedruns or retro achievements. So if that's something you might be interested in, then head over to your platform of choice where you can catch me when I'm live. Until then, stay safe and comfy out there.